It's Wednesday, July 5th, and this is now on HNN. As Hawaii celebrated Independence Day, a look at how many emergencies first responders were called to.
We talked about housing, we talked about economic development, and just so much potential.
Now that Skyline is up and running, a look at its early impact on neighboring communities.
Cocaine is found in the White House. New details today about how the illegal substance ended up in the West Wing.
It's nice and it's small.
These stories, plus Casey Lund, takes us to the top of Koko Head for a look at the city's recent renovations. Details coming up on This Is Now. Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching This Is Now. We begin today with a recap of the emergency calls made for the 4th of July.
Yeah, over on Maui, fire officials noted several emergencies that required their help. While most of them were minor, 2 brush fires did require multiple units. MFD says there were over 20 calls, mostly for small brush and rubbish bin fires. They did respond to 2 larger brush fires overnight, however. The first one ignited around 8:45 p.m. Mauka of Pi'ilani Highway near Ohukai Road. This is new video into our newsroom of that fire. 4 engine companies and 3 MFD tankers were needed to gain control of the flames. It burned 50 acres along with construction materials located at a job site. As of this morning, that fire was 100% contained. A second fire broke out around 2:30 a.m. near Holomua Road. 2 engines responded and got control of the fire in about an hour. 4 acres were burned there. In either fire, no injuries were reported. Meanwhile, the Honolulu Fire Department says fortunately there were no major incidents here on Oahu.
In Waikiki, police say they made a fireworks arrest. An 18-year-old was taken into custody near the Waikiki Aquarium. He was caught at around 11:30 p.m. It's notable because it's difficult for HPD to be able to capture someone in the act of lighting fireworks. That's been one of the challenges in enforcing fireworks rules.
On Oahu's North Shore, Honolulu police arrested a 43-year-old man suspected in a machete attack Tuesday evening. It happened around 5:50 p.m. Police said the suspect struck the victim several times with a machete, causing injuries to the victim's forehead, shoulder, and cheek. No word yet on the victim's condition, but police say he's a 41-year-old man. The suspect was arrested about an hour after the attack. He remains in police custody pending investigation. The motive remains unclear at this time.
To our nation's capital, where the Secret Service is investigating a surprising discovery at the White House. A suspicious white powder that prompted a brief closure of the complex is believed to be cocaine. Skylar Henry has more.
That substance, which was believed to be cocaine, was found Sunday evening in a routine check by the Secret Service, sparking a precautionary closure of the White House complex altogether. DC Fire was called to investigate and quickly determined the item to be non-hazardous and performed preliminary field tests, which positively identified the item as cocaine. The president and his family were not home at the time, having left for Camp David on Friday and returning back here to the White House on Tuesday. According to 2 law enforcement officials briefed, the bag of powder was found in a work area of the West Wing that could have been accessible to many people, including staff, visitors, and even tourists. Yesterday, the Secret Service issued a statement saying the item was sent for further evaluation, and they are investigating the cause and manner of how it entered the White House. The Secret Service will lead a full review, which will include consulting cameras and even entrance logs to determine who had access to the space altogether. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
In international news, 12 years after the meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear plant, Japan plans to start releasing wastewater into the Pacific Ocean, and that's causing some concerns. Mark Stewart explains.
Even though Japan is moving forward to release the treated wastewater from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant sometime this summer, there are still some critics. The reservations come from here in Japan. For example, fishermen worried about their reputation. That's in addition to skepticism across Asia and other parts of the world. CNN traveled to the plant in April. There we saw some of the facilities used to filter and dilute the water. While there will be remnants of a radioactive element known as tritium, it falls under the international standards according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Japan wants to gradually release more than 1 million metric tons of filtered water in the Pacific, part of the process to slowly decommission the plant. Still, not everyone is convinced this is the right thing to do, including the Chinese government. It's a topic that came up at a recent briefing at its Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
The report cannot greenlight the discharge as it cannot prove that ocean discharge is the only option or the safest and most reliable option. China once again urges Japan to, in a responsible attitude for the whole humanity and our future generations, stop pushing through the discharge plan.
The IAEA will establish an office here in Japan to monitor the process, a task that could take years to complete. Mark Stewart, CNN, Tokyo.
Today marks the first full day of business for the Honolulu Skyline. All morning, crowds were rather light on the platform, nowhere near the crowds of opening weekend. Rides are no longer free and paid holo cards are needed. It's hard to gauge the popularity of the system at this point, coming off of a holiday weekend and while school is still out for the summer. Right now, the trains run from East Kapolei to Halawa. Riders are also reminded to hold on when the trains start to move, as officials want to avoid any injuries from falls on board.
For more on Skyline's impact to its surrounding communities, our digital producer Emily Cristobal spoke with lawmakers who represent the neighborhoods the rail runs through in this new episode of The Debrief.
Freshman state lawmakers Senator Brandon Elefante and State Representative Rachel Lamosal serve the areas from Aiea to Pro City and Waipahu, respectively. These crucial areas of Skyline stations are where many residents rely on public transportation. I spoke with them on how this new form of getting around is impacting their communities.
We're really, truly at a pivotal moment in our Hawaii history, where rail Skyline is really a game changer for communities. We talked about housing, we talked about economic development, and just so much potential. So it really will move people. It's really about our future. You know, as freshman lawmakers, we're not just looking for today, we're looking for tomorrow and the days beyond on how that could impact many people with having a great alternative to not getting in your vehicle driving to where you need to go.
And speaking of development, there are already plans in the works near the Waipahu rail station. We've reported that the Times supermarket along Farrington Highway is set to close and be replaced by affordable housing. And there's even talks of Don Quixote in the area shutting down as well. I asked Representative Lamosal about her view on this upcoming construction.
It's not because we don't want development. It's because we love our community so much. We grew up there, and so we want our developers to really put themselves in our shoes and put themselves in a position of a community member to really rethink what the needs of our community really is. And so that's why it's so important to stay engaged with community groups and community members throughout the process.
For more on this conversation and other top issues, you can watch the full episode of The Debrief online and on our digital platforms. This is Emily Cristobal for Hawaii News Now.
Happening today, Governor Josh Green will be signing several bills into law. Some are climate change and clean energy legislation, while the other set of bills is agriculture related. Those bills appropriate funds to the Department of Agriculture projects and help control invasive species. The measures also increase pesticide fines and more. The bill's signings will begin at 1 p.m. We'll have more on this throughout the day.
Over on Maui, county officials are begging vandals to stop destroying public parks and facilities, and they're also asking other park users to be on the lookout. Our Chelsea Davis shows us some of the damage.
Maui County Park officials tell me the problem is island-wide, but one of the places they find recurring vandalism is right here at Kanaha Beach Park.
This is a photo of a porta potty burnt to the ground at Kanaha in Kahului in March. And this was taken less than a week later of a shattered toilet at Keokea Park in Kula. And this is a ruined field by mud bogging at Central Maui Regional Sports Complex in Mauilani 3 weeks later. This is a busted sink at Kipaniwai Park in Wailuku a month after. And these are two other porta potties burnt to ash, also at Kanaha less than a month after that. 3 days later, a destroyed sink also at Kanaha. And just this past weekend, someone burnt the field at Maui High School Park.
I get incident reports pretty much daily about various forms of vandalism throughout our park system here on Maui. And it's quite disheartening.
Maui County Parks Director Pat McCall says the vandalism has gotten so frequent it's hard to keep up. And it's been costing tens of thousands of dollars just for repairs.
Not only is it the monetary damage that occurs, which is quite extensive, but it's the amount of ruining the experience of others.
We all work to make ends meet. And when you take our tax monies and it goes for everything else but what it's supposed to go for because of damages caused, I don't think that's fair.
McCall says there has been an uptick in cases since school's been out, and he wants to raise awareness in hopes it'll be stopped.
When our parks personnel, who work really hard trying to keep things up, when they're spending their time cleaning up graffiti or damage or repairing pieces that that were fine the day before, that's just taking away time from doing regular maintenance work that would be much more beneficial.
See something, say something. It's our community. We like to see our kids out here. They play and enjoy the parks, and it's unfortunate that these things are happening and we see these things going on.
If you see vandalism, call 911. Reporting in Kahului, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
According to housing consultant Ricky Cassidy, the state needs to follow through on its big push for affordable housing to have any chance of lowering rents. Cassidy recently wrapped up a report that shows rents are continuing to rise despite a cooling housing market. Over the past 5 years, average studio rents in Honolulu are up 25% to more than $1,600 a month, while 4-bedroom units are up 22% to nearly $3,700.
Low-end rents are going up even faster than the average. So I'm saying that rents are bad. There'll only be slowdowns in rents if people start leaving, which we always hear. Yes, they leave, but they get replaced by people willing to pay the same or higher rents.
Our plan is to build 10,880 units, the largest public housing authority move that we're aware of in the country. If this brings down the pressure on inventory elsewhere, it should bring prices down.
The state's new push for affordable homes includes a nearly $7 billion investment over the next 10 years.
One of UH Manoa's most famous basketball players is sharing his story of how he ended up in a homeless shelter. Jerome Freeman was a member of the 1970s Fabulous Five team that made the school's first ever NIT and NCAA tournament appearances. Decades later, the former point guard lost his job during the pandemic, fell behind on rent, and was eventually evicted last November. He found help at the Institute for Human Services in Iwilei.
There's a different set of emotion, but it's just something that you have to deal with, I guess, as far as growing up. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it's not the way I want it to be, not the way I planned for it to be, but I'm gonna try to make the most out of it.
He's always had that great determination, and I know he's very determined right now to get out of the situation. He doesn't, when I talk to him, he doesn't blame anyone. He just said, this is what happened.
After 4 months at IHS, Freeman just got a new apartment downtown. Now he's trying to get back into the workforce and perhaps land a job coaching. But he wants everyone to know homelessness can happen to anyone.
There's a new platform at the top of the Koko Head Trail. It's all part of the city's efforts to make the popular hike safer for users. Our Casey Lund went to check it out.
Aloha from the top of Koko Head Crater. The stairs we hiked earlier today, real sense of accomplishment and a beautiful view that so many people come and hike. Many people that live here do it every day. And then, of course, visitors come here. It's a really cherished hike here on Oahu. And it has improved over the years, especially in recent years, thanks to the Coconut Coalition, volunteers who really love this place, as well as the city and county of Honolulu. And we'll talk with the Parks Department in a moment. But I want to talk about this platform here. Lena, I know the old platform was removed. The city replaced it with this. How are people responding to it? I know that people miss the old one, but at least we have something in place, right?
Yes. So, yes, they decided to tear it down because it was dangerous. And we said, okay, well, why not put something else up and not just leave it an empty space? And they did. And it's, it's nice and it's small. And, yeah, I mean, but you can still get a view. It's, it's nice and safe. And
I think at the end of the hike too, just being elevated a little bit even more and getting that really beautiful panoramic view is still really special to so many people. And we saw that today. A lot of hikers out on the trail. I want to bring in Nate Sirota from the city's Department of Parks and Recreation. I'll switch you over here, Nate. I want to ask you a little bit about just kind of the partnership now that we have with the Coconut Coalition. Those volunteers have done so much work. And I know, as Lena mentioned this, that removal of that platform was a little bit of a bummer for some folks, but something that the city kind of felt it had to be done.
Sure, yeah. So if you had come up here when it was metal grates that were resting, part of it was on the winch, the old gears that would bring up troops and supplies to the top of the radar station here. So it was pretty hamajang. There were parts of it that were really unstable. It's remarkable that it lasted as long as it did. It's a testament to the construction that they did back in the World War II era. But it really wasn't meant for people to stand on top of it and for people to use it for recreational purposes. So we wanted to, not only remove that, but to replace it with something that was more conducive for people getting these beautiful panoramic 360 views. And so this platform, it is smaller. It's about 71 square feet, and I think the other one was closer to about 100 square feet. But we were able to use the concrete foundation and just kind of build this new structure for the hikers to enjoy.
We got Nate Sirota with us from the city's Parks and Rec Department. I want to thank Lena again and your group for all that you've done to improve this. It really is a big change. If you haven't been up here in a couple of years, check it out. It's so much safer, and I wouldn't say easier, still quite a workout, but a lot safer. And some of those big gaps in the tramway have been filled in. Very, very nice hike and a workout. Reporting from the top of Koko Head, I'm Casey Lund. We'll send things back to you for now.
And Ashley, we actually do have video of Casey walking up the stairs this morning, carrying the camera with his cameraman there. So it was no easy task to get up there early this morning. Let's go ahead and give you a live look outside. This is beautiful Las Vegas. Yes. One thing that's not so beautiful, the fact that it is 104 sweltering degrees out there. And here locally, it is pretty hot. Let's go ahead and check in with our Ben Gutierrez for our island weather.
We begin with rockets' red glare from Pearl Harbor. This is what the view looked like from the decks of the Mighty Bow with the Pearl Harbor 4th of July fireworks show. Winds right now are keeping things comfortable, a little cooler than they otherwise would be, around 15 to 20 miles per hour. The usual stronger winds for Kahului, usual lighter winds for Kailua, Kona, and Hilo. Those winds bringing in a few showers, mainly for windward and Mauka areas. These are rather light and spotty, and they're kept on the move by those trade winds, so your 7-day forecast calling for those stronger winds. Still going to be pretty warm with highs into the upper 80s. 15 to 20 mile per hour trade winds as we head into the upcoming weekend, and they're probably going to be holding through Monday and Tuesday.
Well, yesterday marked the unofficial hottest day on record for the entire world. That's according to the University of Maine's Climate Reanalyzer, which reported the planet's average daily temperature climbed to 17.18 degrees Celsius or 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The milestone comes just one day after global average temperatures topped 17 degrees Celsius for the first time in 44 years. Scientists warn Tuesday's temperature record is likely to be the first of many over the coming months. It's due to the combination of the climate crisis and the onset of an El Nino phenomenon.
Now, if you ever wondered how significant Michigan's cherry crop is, the region usually produces 50 to 75% of the entire nation's supply of tart cherries every year.
Well, I'm really biased. I'm just going to put that out there. I think that cherries are the best crop ever. So aesthetically, I feel like when you drive around here, it's beautiful, and it's beautiful when they bloom. It's beautiful when they're that beautiful red on the tree. So I think there's probably nothing better than a cherry. That's my opinion.
But that opinion is a pretty common one here at the Northwest Michigan Horticultural Research Center. That's where Nikki Rothwell works.
I remember my daughter when she was young, she was like, I don't really like cherries. And I told her to remember who butters her bread. So, so she's changed her tune since then.
But that tune of digging cherries is what these 137 Leelanau County acres are all about. It's here that crops are grown, experiments are conducted, and knowledge is gained. So it made sense to catch up with Nikki for the story of this cherry growing season so far.
No rain. So it's been really dry. So that's been very different. So we take the good with the bad. So I would say the good news about it is that our disease pressure is low. So that's really good news for growers. So we've had to control less disease because it's not warm and wet.
That's the plus side of our dry season. Fewer diseases, but of course that comes at a cost.
Sometimes our fruit size can be compromised just because we haven't had a lot of water.
Not a lot of water, so not a lot of size to this year's fruit, but they may pack a punch.
Rain dilutes out sugars, so when you don't get rain, they're going to be really sweet.
The sweet cherries are being harvested right now. The tarts, probably mid-month.
So things are getting pretty red right now, so if you drive by even like from the truck seat, you can see that they're definitely getting red.
The home stretch, and while you may think rain is almost always a good thing, even after our dry season, rain isn't on many growers' wish lists right now.
You don't want it to rain now because sometimes too much rain can crack a sweet cherry.
Well, 2 months after Britain's lavish celebration for King Charles and his coronation, Scotland is hosting an event of their own to celebrate his reign. CBS's Tina Krause has more.
Royal pomp and pageantry filled the streets known as the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, as crowds in Scotland's capital city celebrated the new monarchy of King Charles III. The King and Queen Camilla rode in a royal procession, flanked by Prince William and Kate, known as the Duke and Duchess of Rothesay to the Scots. At a service of Thanksgiving in St. Giles Cathedral, King Charles received the crown jewels, once used in the coronations of Scotland's kings and queens, along with a new sword of state named after his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II.
The Crown of Scotland.
70 years ago, she also went through this same ritual, meant to highlight how England and Scotland had different monarchs until the crowns were united in 1603. Wednesday's event brought King Charles back to the same cathedral where he mourned his mother's death nearly 10 months ago. But the second largest country in the UK is split on support for the monarch, with chants from demonstrators clashing in the streets. The 74-year-old is looking to strengthen ties with Scotland to show the 1,000-year-old monarchy remains relevant in modern Britain. Tina Krause, CBS News.
Time to go ahead and take a look at some good news now.
That's right. Hawaii's favorite canned meat turns 86 today.
Ooh.
The name Spam emerged during a New Year's Eve party in 1936. Now, the inventor, J. Hormel, named his canned ham creation after spice and ham. So according to Spam's website, their products are sold in 48 different countries around the world. But no surprise, Hawaii brings in sales of 7 million cans a year, ranking #1 in Spam consumption. Now, there are at least 11 different varieties of Spam that were created over the time, including maple flavored, oven roasted turkey, jalapeno, and hot and spicy. The company says Hawaii's love for the canned meat began during World War II when Hormel shipped more than 100 million pounds of Spam to soldiers.
For me, you can't go wrong with the plain old simple original.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's go ahead and take you to New York now. Take a look at this. This was part of the 4th of July celebrations there. Over 500 drones lit up the skies, recreating the Statue of Liberty. Absolutely amazing feat there over the East River. And of course, thousands lined that same spot for the Macy's fireworks show. I have it on DVR. I gotta go watch it, but that's just truly amazing. Technology.
Yeah, drones are the new thing.
They really are.
Yeah.
We thank you all so much for joining us here on This Is Now, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Aloha.